Hello and welcome to another episode of Utopia Planitia. I am Teacher Kirby and I'm joined by one of the best shipbuild panels around, minus one today. Steve could not join us due to a time conflict, but he will be back next time. We said we put him in detention. He was
No, right.
microwaving tea.
Yep, microwave my
Yeah.
tea.
Yep, the guys just couldn't handle it, so we had to put him in detention. But he will be out next week and joining us. But I am joined by Ain. Say hi.
Anne says hi.
Still talking in the third person, I see.
Well, not now. But yes, and I don't know anymore.
He's so confused. And
Always.
Ed's evil twin. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Ain.
What?
I
don't know anymore.
Kirby, how you doing? I thought I'd just throw in a hi, Ain there to the third person. Get that out of the way.
Okay.
It's going to be one of those nights, isn't it?
Okay, so today we are featuring a build sent to me in game by Paul Danger. And this is the Athena. And it is a Jem'Hadar Dreadnought Carrier. So he's asked us to look this over. He's looking to do more DPS. And we have complete freedom, boys.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very,
First
very
off,
wrong.
I'm going to say it's a very nice ship. I've got one of those myself. It's one of the first ships that I flew in STO. I absolutely love it. I won't get rid of it. It sits, unfortunately, in my dry dock now because there are other ships that have grown on me. But yeah, nice big behemoth ship. Really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah,
I
think
got
there's
one way back when.
There's a load of us that have got a soft spot for this ship.
I missed mine. I made the foolish mistake. I bought one. I spent the gobsmack amount of EC to get it, and then, like an idiot, I was drunk one night, and well, I discharged it.
Oh no.
I wasn't thinking.
What were you thinking, Aim?
I was thinking, ooh, I'm gonna get money for selling this. I don't know. It was not a good night. It was also the night I sold my first plasmonic leech. I sold it for 10 EC.
Did you say 10 million EC?
10 EC. I forgot a few zeros.
10.
A few zeros?
Yeah, wow.
That must be
That's-
some beer goggles to get duplication on that amount of zeros.
I know, right?
Ooh.
Okay.
You must have been
So,
looking lengthways down the bar.
so the lesson here is that if we want things for very, very cheap, get Aim drunk. Okay.
Send me an in-game mail when you're actually going to put stuff up on the exchange, Aid, and I'll sit there and just tell me what you're putting up there first, all right? I'll take it from there.
Anyway, let's get into this.
Anyway, let's dig into this ship. So right now he's got some Elite Fleet Phaser, Elite Fleet Dual Beam Bank, Elite Fleet Array. He's got the Omega Torp and Quad Cannons. So I'm going to say this, and this is for everybody listening. We don't generally recommend mixing different classes of energy weapons. So if you're going with phasers, go with dual beam banks and phaser arrays. Do not mix in cannons. Okay? If you're going with cannons, don't mix in arrays and dual beam banks. That kind of thing. What do you guys think?
I agree, unless it's the cutting beam.
Right, there are some exceptions, of course, and the cutting beam is one of those exceptions. Cutting beam isn't really, it's a class all of its own, so it's a little different there. There's reasons for that. It's not actually modified by any of these special attacks. However, cannons and beams, they have different types of special attacks. They're so if you have, say you go with mostly beams and you go to modify your beams with, say, fire at will, you're not going to be modifying your cannons with that. So it takes more tac slots or tactical bridge officer abilities to be able to modify everything, or you end up not being able to modify something at all. Which, yeah, just not good.
Yeah, I'll just throw in there is
Hmm.
one other exception to the rule where you would mix them, and that is if you're going for a set bonus. For example, there's the set that has the cannon and the beam where you might not be able to slot third part, so that will enable you to get the third part by having the second weapon in there, but that's not going to be covered in this. It's not the sort of thing that we'd put on this build.
Right. So, and we would explain if we ever recommended to mix something like that, we would explain exactly why we're doing. So, first things first, so with the weapons, we're actually going to get rid of this quad cannon. Now, I'm thinking because he has vulnerability locators and they're all geared for phaser, which is good. You want your vulnerability locators or your tactical consoles to match the weapon type you're using.
Hmm.
I'm thinking get rid of the quad cannons and put in the quantum phase array.
Agreed.
I quite like that.
If we're going with the quantum phase array, you might as well go with the quantum phase torpedo.
Yes.
Because the phaser damage bonus from the set two. It is a set two, right? Yes, it is.
Yes, that is a set. You are correct. Quantum phase beam array. There we go.
I think as well at this point it's a good time to point out that the elite fleet phasers have got this nice little proc on them that when they fire there's a shield hill that's meant to happen. Now notice I emphasise the word meant. It's one of those things that's not functional at the moment, and whether they get round to actually fixing it, it's sort of detracted people away from buying the elite fleet weaponry. Number one, because everyone has gone down that anti-proton road, or the the other ones with the coalition disruptors to get the stacking procs. But I mean, they were a good weapon when they came out, but they've since been sort of like pushed to the side and forgotten, unfortunately. But they are still a good weapon in the right hands on the right ship. A lot of damage. And one day they will hopefully fix that hill from it, which will make them viable again.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Really good for a tank build. I can see why it's been chosen.
Mm-hmm. I can, and I get the feeling looking at some of this that he might have been going for a tank kind of setup.
That's what I was thinking when I saw the shape
Mm-hmm.
of things here. It does
Hmm.
give that
And that
impression, doesn't
amplifier.
it?
Yeah. So I'm going to change these because the elite fleet isn't really the best for these. I'm going to go ahead and change these out to just a regular damage 3 pen, which is the recommended
Yes.
weapon
I,
type. Yeah.
and I can remember seeing the Jem'Hadar Dreadnought a few years back when PvP was one of those things in game that everyone would head to crap, and there was a player that would go down there with elite fleet turrets all round.
Oh, oh, painful
Yes, you could
memories.
see the number of procs that he got on his hills, and they were working beautifully at that point. And yeah, nobody could take them down. You had to gang up on them. It would take about 6 players, and then finally they would give in.
Painful memories.
Mm-hmm. It is. Now, it is important to note if you can't afford the something like a crit or damage 3 pen or crit D3 pen, and you're just trying to have something in a pinch, you can go and play the episode Everything Old is New, and that will allow you to get damage 2 or crit D times 2 phaser arrays. They're at Mark 11 blue. You'll have to upgrade them, but those are very nice arrays.
The thing you'll find with phaser weapons, if you're actually going to purchase them from the exchange, they do tend to carry a little bit more of a premium than your normal weapon. The reason for that is there's a lot of role-playing fleets out there that do like to maintain the canon aspect of their ships, so they will go for the weapons that match their ship, and if they're flying a fed ship, it's predominantly phasers. And some of those guys are into their damage, so the crit D2 pens, the crit D3 pens will command a higher price than your average weapon type of the same mods and rocks.
I am guilty as duly charged.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And I'm thinking we can leave the kinetic cutting beam and the assimilated module. What do you guys think on that?
Agreed, because the power.
Right.
Even though he does have the leech, you can never have too much power.
This is true. And he does have enough because this is actually going to end up being. He does have 5 engineering consoles, and this is where a lot of his universals are going to go. So he does end up having enough room to keep the assimilated module. It's not going to hurt him to have that. We're not going to be hard pressed to find, a place to put it on here. All right. So, as far as gear, I'm thinking if we're thinking tank, I'm thinking the Iconian set.
Yes.
Yes, full echo.
Yeah, because that'll do 2 things. The Iconian set will allow him to have, it's nice and tanky. It does, it does do a lot of nice tanky things. It heals nicely. It has some good resistances. It has the hot
Removes debuffs.
restarts, removes debuffs. It also gives a damage buff, so it's the best of both worlds there.
Yes, it's 40. It's a what is it? Correct me if I'm wrong here. 45% extra damage with 3 stacks. If it's a 3-set bonus, and then if you have the 4-set, you get the subatomic pulse.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so trying to get this in my mind. Quantum phase beam, quantum phase torpedo. We're going with full beam array build, right? For
Yes,
broadsiding,
that's what I'm thinking for broadsiding, yes.
full echo set. Okay, so that leaves devices.
I would
Generally,
probably
what I
drop
use
in.
is the standard.
I'd probably go with an energy amplifier to boost the damage, but also a reactive armor catalyst.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and the subspace field modulator is really nice there as well.
Beautiful, beautiful piece. Okay, so we have the energy amplifier, we have the armor catalyst, and the subspace field modulator. We got 5 engineering consoles, 2 science, 4 tactical. We don't need to change anything with tactical, obviously. But for the science, I notice he has a shield heal energy amplifier. So I mean,
Yes.
that's good for tanking, but because he has the plasmonic leech, I'm going to say change both of those consoles over to keep them energy amplifying, but make them drain X. Get all the drain, steal all the energy. Because like I said, you can never have too much. What do you guys think?
No, I'm just trying to get all this in.
Well, yeah, drain X, but still need to point out that the drain from the leech isn't actually affecting targets at the moment still.
Right.
What?
So, yeah, it's been like it for a while. However, you will still get the effect of the energy going into your subsystem when it ticks over.
Yes.
So there is that advantage.
So it does,
Yeah,
so we're
I'd
on
also
the, okay.
on this build be tempted to leave those hanger pets as well. You can't get much better for a Jem'Hadar than the elite Jem'Hadar attack ships.
So we're thinking for the, we're on science consoles, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're discussing. So the plasma explosion runs, right?
Yes.
And in this case, and we'll explain why, but in this case, we do want the um, signature amplifier, which is a bit different than what we usually do.
Which is the nullifier.
Yes. And we're looking for the one with flow, which they haven't updated the descriptions here on
Academy.
STO Academy yet. So flow here is the same as Drain-X in game. So important to note there. So we're going to go to weapon signature amplifiers. And I'm thinking the neutronium, because we still have phasers. We've got two pieces of the quantum phase set. I'm thinking the neutronium, because neutroniums really don't do as much as people think. Thinking we can clear that out and put in the quantum phase converter.
Agreed. And with the engineering consoles, other than the neutronium, the only other thing I would change is the 0 point. Change that to bioneural infusion circuits, because that'll give him crit, much more. I cannot talk. Crit severity and whole hit points.
Yeah.
And also the extra control.
This is true. And doesn't it do resist as well? I'll check
I
on that.
believe so. Let's double check on that.
It does not. It's extra hull capacity, extra control expertise, and at Epic Mark 14 plus 25% crit severity.
Yes, and that is quite a bit of crit severity.
A lot.
So we're putting in the quantum phase converter. That does give a little extra phaser damage without taking up another TAC console. So this is a good plus for a phaser build. Plus it completes the 3-piece of the quantum phase set, so that gives him an extra clickable beam that is going to do a good deal of phaser damage, especially since he's running phasers anyway. Plus it's going to give him an extra way to drain target's energy. It's one of the things that beam does. So it is single target. It does take a bit of a duration, but if you use it on big targets, like say the tactical cube or the gate in an ISA, that's going to have some nice effects and do a good bit of damage on them. Yeah. He's got the plasmonic leech, which we're leaving. We're leaving the assimilated module to give some extra crit severity, crit damage, and to complete the 2-piece with the kinetic cutting beam. We're leaving the tachyokinetic for some extra turn rate, because this is a big ship and it's going to need a bit of a turn rate there. So it gives some extra turn rate and flight speed, plus crit severity and crit damage, which is important. And then we're putting in the bioneural infusion circuits to also give some crit severity and a little bit of control if he ever needed it. All
We're going to get
right.
those lovely hit points.
Yes. And then we added in the science consoles, the plasma generating. So that's going to add the plasma explosions on his energy weapons, which is always a good thing. That'll give him a little bit of extra DPS. We put in the weapon signature amplifiers rather than the nullifiers. A little more on that later. And then we left the vulnerability locators with the phaser focus, because we're keeping his build as phaser. Any comments on the pets?
I love the Jem'Hadar pets. I have no
So do I.
complaints.
They are still
They're
one of
very
the
good
best pets in game.
Very
Yeah.
good.
And he does have the elite version, so
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
And
these
that
are
it's
very
very
nice.
expensive to replace those with
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's why I just
So,
had to mention them earlier, because they are such nice pets, and they're one of the ones that if you do own the attack ship, it's worth saving up for them.
yes, they are very nice pets. Alright, so let's move on to bridge officers. Alright,
Yep.
So this has a Lieutenant Universal, Commander Tac, Lieutenant Tac, Lieutenant Commander Engineering, and Ensign Science. Whew. This can
Yeah,
be
that ensign
rough.
science. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ensign science. Well,
Yikes.
do
Go
you
ahead.
know? Go into the duty officers and show them the fabrication engineer. Increases duration of reverse shield polarity.
Alright, so we're
Now,
looking at this guy.
I I have not used this build in like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget just how many fabrication engineers you can have of this flavor, and whether it's two or three or just one.
Okay.
But what I used to do was I would get, like I said, however many fabrication engineers I could get on. I can't remember the number. But with that, and run two copies, because at the time I didn't know about Ox to Bat, run two copies of
Mm-hmm.
reverse shield polarity, and 2 second downtime of reverse shield polarity, you practically have it up for 99% of the time. Because the only chance anyone's going to have of getting through that reverse shield polarity is a vape, in 2 seconds time.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when I was going through his duty officers and I saw that, my mind hit me. I looked at what is available here, which isn't very much, because as Ed mentioned earlier before the show, the Jem'Hadar Dreadnought exists in this little niche. It's by itself. It's not exactly a dreadnought. It's not exactly a cruiser or an escort. It's all by itself. It's a category all its own. So I'm thinking Ox to Bat with this, with using Ox to Bat ones, dual Ox to Bat ones in the Lieutenant Universal and the Lieutenant Commander Engineering,
I
and
was
then
thinking the
using
exact same thing.
Reverse Shield Polarity 2 with the Lieutenant Commander slot. That way he doesn't have to worry about shield heals, so he can get rid of the transfer shield strength in the science slot and go with the hazard emitters, which will give him both resist, healing, and resistance to movement debuffs. Which, considering how slow the ship is, he's gonna need that.
Alright,
And
so
Fox
I
to
have
Bat.
Reverse Shield Polarity 2, two copies of Oxtabat 1, Engineering Team 1, and what was the other? Ensign Engineering?
Instant Engineering, I would go with Emergency Power Weapons 1 and
There we
Engineering Team 1.
go. Okay, got it.
The other nice thing about using this ship for an Oxtabat build is I do believe it gets a +10 to auxiliary as a bonus for the ship, along with a +10 to weapons.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
So that's a
lovely.
very nice thing. Now, the
Yes.
reason we're thinking Oxtabat, it's not so much to manage his power because he doesn't really need to do that. And that's one of the key things with Oxtabat. It's to manage the cooldowns of his bridge officer abilities. Basically, it allows him to have the global or the lowest possible cooldown for whatever science ability he puts in his science ensign slot and for all other abilities. So it's like having two copies of reverse shield polarity. It's like having two copies of engineering team. It's like having two copies of emergency power to weapons. It's like having two copies when you only have a single copy of any of these items. Having Ox to Bat combined with the right duty officers allows you to run it as if you had two copies of everything, with the exception, of course, of the Ox to Bat skill. So,
But the beauty of
yeah.
that is that if you do it right, one Oxtabat can be used to bring the cooldown down on the other Oxtabat,
This is
Mm-hmm.
true.
which we'll explain later on in the build as to how it works.
Yes. All right, so I've got the engineering. Now, having the reverse shield polarity and combined with the duty officers, which I'm assuming it's going to be three of them.
Mm-hmm.
Remove, I'm going to remove these two and put fabrication engineer.
Yes, and because he has the 6th duty officer unlocked, and this is amongst the bat, you have to have 3 technicians, 3 purple technicians to make it as effective as possible.
Oh, okay.
And so that takes up
So
all the other spots.
apparently, we are wrong. It's only one fabrication engineer that we can put on here. The program inside itself actually spit it out. Said we can only have one.
That's very nice to have. So yes, it'd be
Very good to know. Okay.
Yep, the very rare
So,
flavor is the one he wants, which is what he has.
yes.
So perfect.
So that's perfect. I am, however, going to remove. Now, in order to do the cooldown for the Oxtabat ability, or with the Oxtabat ability, what you need are technicians. And technicians, here we go. Recharge time reduced for engineering team and buff to Starship hull repair. Nope, we want... It's not listed here.
It's not?
It's not.
Do you have the game open right now,
I'm
I'm assuming?
shocked. I do.
If you have the technician, just show them there.
I don't, but I can get to the exchange. At least I don't think I have him. Let me double check.
Even if you've got one at a lower quality, just to show the effect
Yeah.
is the same. It's just got a higher value on the officer because of his quality.
Yes. That's why I said the very rare.
I do have a technician, but they're all...
Yeah, I believe it says reduce cooldown on bridge officer abilities when activating.
When activating,
Auxiliary
yeah,
battery.
I have all
Yes.
the Bali technician, which are not the right ones.
Now, you can pick these technicians up from the exchange. There is a chance
Yes.
of picking them up from your starbase. There is a chance of picking them up from the mission from the academy, the general officer recruitment mission, and there is also a chance where you can get one from the commendation.
Yes.
So there's
But
several
look,
places in game you can get them, but the most popular method is the exchange.
That's actually the...
looking at some of the things he
Okay.
has, I think he can very much afford to just go and outright buy them.
And technicians are under... I believe they're under engineering. They might be under operations. They're under engineering. Alright. And what do you know? Okay, so this is a white one. It's not going to recharge them much. But if I right click, so it literally says under the ability, recharge time for all bridge officer abilities reduced when auxiliary to emergency battery is used. Now the white one, or the common one, reduces by only 4%.
And
the purple
I have
ones... Go
I have
ahead.
the very rare one up right now, and for the very rare, it is 10%. So having 3
Yes.
of those is reduced by 30%, which is automatically down to global.
Exactly. Okay. So this is why we recommend 3 purple. So if I... Let's see if I can find one. Oh, look at that. They're actually not that expensive. They're only... I found one that is 3.7 million. And you can see here the purple one reduced by 10%. So this is... You would need 3 purple ones to do this reliably. Okay. And basically, I'm looking at the exchange right now. There's one for 3.7. There's another for... Yeah, so you can get all 3 for just about... 3.10 for about 12 million.
Yep.
Right now, and that's all 3, which is actually quite good price-wise.
Yeah, I paid 75 million when I originally got all 3 of mine.
Yes. So
they've come down a lot in price. Okay, so we have the 3
yes, they have.
technicians. We have the singular fabrication engineer that leaves 2 slots open. I'm thinking just fill it with Taurus X. Unless you have a better bridge
Hmm.
officer.
You
Would it?
can. You definitely can, because that'll give an extra buff for the battery.
Batteries, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll give a buff to damage from the battery, and that'll give a. Will that give anything from the reactive armor catalyst
No,
next? I don't know.
no.
It won't.
It doesn't react with that. It doesn't count as a battery.
Hmm. Well, don't get rid of
Um,
the reactive armor catalyst. It will come in handy.
Yes,
yeah,
it'll come in handy. Actually, I think it counts as an auxiliary battery.
it might do. I don't know. I'll have to give it a try. I know that the other ones that are crafted are very, very nice with Torosec. Say for instance, if you've got
Hmm.
one Torosec and you use one weapons battery, you get 10% bonus damage from
Shum
Torosec
was
for the
moved to
duration of the
channel
battery.
Kirby after dark.
If you've got the red matter capacitor, you'll get a nice little bonus on that as well.
So,
Boosts several systems, but with the new batteries,
mhm.
you get a bonus to all subsystem powers, and you also get a 2.5% enhancement to the effect of the battery that's not listed, and Torosec doesn't list it. But I believe it was measured in testing. Whether that's changed or not, I don't know. So if anybody does know, they can always let us drop us a mail in game or reply to YouTube.
So
Very much
those
so.
are maintenance engineers. That's
They
what
are, yes.
Torosec is.
You can also
And
use Exocomp as
there we go.
well.
Exactly. The Exocomp does exactly the same thing. And so I'm going to put two of those. Maintenance engineers. It is possible to stack them 3 times. 3D. There we go. So we're going to put two of those. We're going to leave the fabrication engineer for the increased duration of reverse shield polarity. Alright. And now let's go back to the bridge officer abilities, because we do need to. I want to talk for a second. Now previously he had one cannon. Now you'll notice in these abilities he's got two cannon abilities to buff that one cannon. He had one torp. He's got two torp abilities to buff that one torp. And then he's got one beam ability to buff the other. How many weapons was it?
The rest
One,
of them.
two, three, four. To buff the other four weapons, one ability. So this is one of the reasons we don't recommend mixing weapon types as much as possible, because you end up with. He's got 2/3. He's got, yeah, 2/3 of his abilities buffing two weapons. So this isn't the
Mm-hmm.
most efficient layout of his abilities here. But the good
Especially
thing.
when you
Go ahead.
consider the firing arc on those weapons as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially bringing the quads to bear.
Yeah, exactly. So the firing arc is slim on those. The yeah, it's just, this isn't the most efficient layout, and has probably been part of what's been holding him back if he hasn't seen very good results with it. Alright, so the good thing about using the Ox to Bat is, instead of needing two copies of everything like we usually recommend, he's only going to need one. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about having beams as his weapons is that we can put our highest debuff to our target as our commander slot, and that's going to be attack pattern beta 3. So that's going to give us the most bang for the buck on our debuff. Awesome thing to do. And then we can put our highest buff for the most of our weapons on the lieutenant commander slot. That's fire at will 3. And this gives us a nice area of effect, which is always recommended for DPS. Alright, now what else were we talking about? We talked about leaving Torp Spread 2. And we did talk about changing the ensign to Tactical Team 1 for the shield distribution and the buff there. And then, what did we say for the other lieutenant slot? Oh, go ahead, Ain, tell us what we said for the other lieutenant slot.
Focus assault. I had to
Yes.
step away from. Yeah, focus assault.
Yeah, no, I was not a prompt with that focus assault.
What were you thinking? No problems. Okay. Now, Focus Assault basically gives a buff to the entire team for an extremely short time, but it really focuses on getting the target down. So you get a damage spike when you use that.
Yes, it's a plus 20% for your
Yes.
teammates, and mind you, it does not buff you.
Yes. Actually, I think you're considered an ally, if I remember rightly.
Now it does. Does it work finally? I might actually have to put it back on my ship.
I'll have to check. And then we're leaving the Chemosite one because this is, again, a good debuff, but it also will give him some extra DPS to his weapons, and he'll be firing at everything in range.
And not
All
only
right.
that,
Go ahead.
replace it. There's nothing else that would really sit in at that level that you've not already got or would be any use to the build.
Exactly. All right. And then for the science, because we're doing the reverse shield polarity with the duty officer to extend the duration, we're not really going to need, or he's not really going to need any shield heals. He keeps this up all the time and he's good to go. So we can take away the transfer shield strength and put in hazard emitters. Now what this is going to do is give him a nice heal, a cleanse of various damage over time and other effects, and so very good all around. Any other comment
Nope.
or thoughts? All right. So this is what we were thinking. So this is actually going to be a nice DPS centered tank build because he's going to have nice shield healing. He's going to have a nice two actually hull heals, and he's going to have the emergency power to weapons as well as very good offensive ability.
Very much so.
All right, I'd say we head to his skill tree now. What do you think?
Already there.
All right. Whew.
My eyes
Yeah.
Gone for
burn.
balance.
I do note how he has one missing skill point spent.
Yes. I would immediately put that to finish off the energy weapon training.
Yes.
That's my first thought, just right there. You gotta finish off. You gotta have three. It's your main source. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually thinking we can take off the projectile weapons. We don't really need it. He's got only one
Yeah.
torp. There's better places we can spend that point.
Yeah, there's not much.
If I
You
can
gonna say?
remember it, I don't think I can. But the other night, I don't know whether you guys remember, but I was asked to do a build on a vengeance for an was it? I can't remember what it was now. Wasn't it a tank build for an engineer on a vengeance that
Might
could do
have been.
DPS?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that would sit very nice with this ship.
Okay.
But I can't remember the layout now.
Yeah.
I should have made a note of it. I didn't save the link either.
Okay. Well, I would say we can because we know we can make it up with the choices in the skill unlocks. I'd say we can take away one of the shield capacity.
Before
Go ahead.
go on, are we going to go for one of the ultimates, or are we going to say let's skip going for the ultimate in favour of the tankiness and go for a more balanced DPS orientated build? I mean,
That's what I'm thinking.
can we see any of the ultimates playing a part in being able to do what he wants to do? I mean,
I'm thinking
ultimately,
more
possibly
balance.
the Psy
I'm
would
thinking more
help,
balanced as
but
well.
yeah, I do agree. Balance would sit much better.
Okay, so I'm taking off a shield capacity and a hull capacity, and we'll go more on that later. And I'm going to put in, definitely we want Drain Expertise 2 points there.
That'll
Because
take
that's
full
going to
advantage
have,
of those.
yes, of the Plasmonic lead.
Yeah.
Cover to go
And also the
86
extra
was
consoles we've
moved to
got in there to
channel
boost
Kirby
that as
after
well.
dark.
They'll be added
Yeah.
to that effect.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking we can leave the defensive maneuvering just so he has a bit more defense to help him. But I don't really think we need the targeting expertise. So we can take that away. But I definitely want to put in the EPS flow because he is doing quite a bit of beam. And we definitely, I recommend this for every beam or cannon build. Fill out your long range targeting sensors or scanners, whichever they're called. Yeah,
The
long
weapon
range targeting
itself
sensors.
has the weapon itself has written in the further away you are from a target. So if you are at 9.9 kilometers, you'll do less damage. You fill all those three up, and it's not a total negation of that, but it does decrease the amount of energy loss from a
So
distance.
I'm gonna go in game and show it. So right, so hard coded into your energy weapons, it's a at when you're at 9.9 and can start firing, you get a 50% damage drop off. Now, what each of these does, so with 1 point, it changes the distance penalty to 40%. Okay? With 2 points, it changes that distance penalty to 30%. Meaning instead of losing 50% of your weapons, you only lose 40 with 1 point. You only lose 30% with 2 points. You only lose 20% with 3 points. Meaning you can be 9.9 kilometers away and still do 80% of your beam's damage. That's huge. So for the love of God, people, fill out your targeting sensors. If you're an energy build, please fill them out.
I just went through my own skills and I just realized I have no points in that. But then
Oh!
Oh no!
then again, I am an engineer who thinks he's a science captain.
Bad aim.
Those 30k grav wells are just beautiful.
Yeah.
I will admit though, the introduction of that skill when they did do the skills tree revamp was the balancer between beams and cannons, because beams never used to suffer from that drop off. Well, not as much as cannons did, and that's why everyone jumped over to beams at that point.
Yes. Okay. Now, I'm thinking the impulse expertise, the 1 point in it, I'm okay with that because he needs a bit of extra speed because he's a big honkin',
He
chip.
big. He big.
Yeah, he big. So I'm okay with that. I did take out the 1 point he put in the admiral spot in the readiness because he's not going to need that with Ox to Bat.
That's very true, actually.
Yeah, so there's no point in having it there. I'm also taking out, really don't need the points in shield weakening because shields go down fairly quickly. So I'm taking that out. So that gives us, without changing anything else, that gives us 6 points to work with.
I'd also do our old
Yeah.
favourite. I would, on the admiral level, move the improved warp core potential over to warp core efficiency.
Agreed.
Yes. Alright. And, okay. And he's, yeah, so that gives us still 6 points to work with. So,
Very nice.
personally, I would put in, I might put in another point to defensive maneuvering so he gets a little extra defense.
Agreed.
I'm
Because this is
thinking,
not
yeah.
this is not a build where he wants to sit still.
No.
In which case, then I'd probably also suggest maybe another one in impulse thrusters if it's available. As we said, this is a slow maneuverable ship. If I remember rightly, when I flew this, One of the good tricks with this ship is when you're going in, all full throttle, not maybe full impulse, but when you get your own enemy and target, you can almost power slide it in a slide, but keep the front of that ship on target. And through use of gently feathering the reverse thrust, you can make this thing spin.
Mm-hmm. You can.
There's a lot of piloting skill involved with it, but I think that little boost might enable him to do it.
Now I
I mean,
am thinking. So
that's if we
that's
have the point available at the end, though.
we do right now. Putting it in, we have 4 left. I'm thinking putting another into hull penetration, and that leaves us with 3 left. I'm thinking we could either put into damage control or hull restoration.
Pop that up to 3.
Yeah. If we put hull restoration up to 3, that leaves us with 2 points left. We could put 1 each back in shield cap and hull cap.
Might as well. You never have too many.
Okay. True. Alright, and then so for the skill unlocks, we're going to have quite a few in each one. I would put in battery expertise because we are using a couple batteries, so that'll cool them
Read
down.
on that.
Definitely we want maximum hull capacity, so that gives us plus 10 hull capacity skill. And I would put, so we have to choose, we can choose either engine, subsystem power, or shield subsystem power. I'm going to choose engine for this because he's going to need a little bit of extra engine power to help him move around. And those are the 3 for engineering we can choose.
And the other good thing is that if the Oxtobat works correctly, he should have loads of power available for all of his subsystems apart from the Ox.
Yes.
Yes.
So every little
All right.
helps.
So for skill selection, I'm going to assume based on one of the DOFs that he had that he wants transwarp reductions. Really, the first one is your preference. It does not matter. It's not going to affect anything while you're in battle. Definitely want maximum shield capacity. And those are the only choices we have. And this was why we could, the shield capacity and the hull capacity from the engineer is why we could afford, if we needed to take one out. Alright, and so for this one we want threat control. For tactical, we want, I would say, projectile weapon critical damage,
Yes.
energy
Most definitely.
critical damage, because he does have a lot in critical chance. Alright. And those are what I would choose. That looks pretty good, gentlemen, for the skill tree. It is a little engineering heavy, but we are thinking tank for this. So, and he doesn't need a lot in shields because of the way we've done the skills or the bridge officer abilities. So I think we're good on this. Now let's take a look at his personal traits.
Before we
Well, I
do
think
move
before
on,
we think
Go
of
ahead.
that, let's think specialization.
Specialization. Okay.
so before we even go on to that, I'm going to say one of the things that I've noticed is where we've put those extra points in on the, well, if you look at the first level lieutenant and engineering, I do have a build, and I mean you guys are aware of this build where I've put no points at all in hull restoration and in damage where is it? No, it's the next one up. It's the commander level. It's a damage control, and I have no points at all in hull plating in any way, shape, or form. And the ship that I'm using is a tank. So sometimes, if you are using a certain style of ship that can handle the damage, and there are certain new tier 6 ships out there that can absorb a lot of damage, you can hold back on those skills if you want to put them elsewhere.
Very true. All right.
But yeah,
So
we were saying specializations.
specialization. So currently he has Intel as primary and Pilot as secondary, which was the old standard before the strategist tree came.
Yes.
So I'm actually thinking Intel and strategist would serve
Yes.
better for survivability and a
Well,
bit more of DPS.
the
Go
added
ahead.
bonus that he's got in with that is that whilst he's pulling the threat, he's going to be having a little bit of a bonus to his cooldowns as well for a strategist.
Mm-hmm.
Only if you
Yeah.
have threatening stance on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which being a tank, he would probably have that on anyway. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going for threat consoles. So
Exactly.
Right.
I think it's going to work on this occasion quite nicely, especially in conjunction with the Oxtopat.
Yes.
Things nice and tight.
Alrighty. And now, well, we can look at ground skills, but oh, he didn't go with our usual recommendation. So we always recommend top left, bottom right, carry a. Just saying, folks. That's, yeah. Alright, and now, trait.
Maybe not just a hypo.
Yeah.
I'd recommend about
Oh,
20 of them.
so I have some good news as I'm looking at the traits. The top two skills I was actually worried about when we said tank, or at least one of them, the pattern recognition, he already has. So that's good. Is this living hull or biotech patch? Living hull he has as well. So that's actually a good thing that gives passive hull resistance. So I think he's going to actually come off quite nicely here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to take much. I would take out, since we took out the cannon, we're definitely going to take out the cannon training.
I would replace
Go
that
ahead.
with Coalition Starship Tactics.
I was actually thinking a blade of shell for the heal.
I was as well.
Yeah.
Well, that, but I'm assuming we're also going to get rid of the projectile training.
Yes.
So
Alright,
maybe
so we'll
go
put in
with
a
both.
blade of shell and now take out projectile and coalition. Yes.
Yes.
I'll tell you what else would be nice if he can afford it, and it is not too expensive at the moment thanks to the Infinity Lockbox, and that's Intense Focus if it's not there. I haven't
Yes.
seen it as yet.
You can
I
get rid
was
of Accurate.
actually I was thinking biotech patch would be a good addition as well. And possibly
is.
helmsman.
Yes, I can see why you want Helmsman.
Mm-hmm. Helmsman gives a good increase. Hello. Okay, Coalition Starship Tactics.
Well, let us not
And
forget,
then-
we should probably find a space for Grace Under Fire.
Ah, yes.
Doesn't boost damage, but you know, when you're in a pinch, Grace Under Fire. Exactly as its name intends.
Well, if we take out, I don't think we're really going to need shield technician because of the way we're doing the shield.
Yep. And probably lose that one.
So we could put in Grace Under Fire there. Okay. And then we could get rid of Operative because it gives a very small bonus comparatively to everything else. So we could get rid of that and put in, what was the other one you said we got?
Intense
Oh,
Focus?
Intense Focus. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
Intense Focus.
Now, I will be clear here. These are not always very cheap. Okay,
Yeah.
these are not exactly, some of these are a little expensive.
Like the
And
one I'm about to
Specialized
say.
Traits, yes. What's the other one?
Instead of
Inspirational
having
Raider.
That's exactly what I was gonna
Warp
say. Get rid of
Theorist.
beam training. Get
Oh,
rid of beam training. Go with inspirational leader.
I was thinking getting rid of Warp Theorist as well.
Warp Theorist is it's one of those that if I'm running beams, I will slot Warp Theorist because it does have that nice. I know it's only plus 10 to EPS, but it's still plus 10 to EPS, and
Mm-hmm.
that does help a little bit. If you've got nothing
What
better,
about?
Well, I'm thinking Helmsman would go better there because I hadn't put that in yet. So right now we've got Helmsman, Grace Under Fire, Inspirational Leader, Ablative Shell, Coalition Starship Tactics, Intense Focus, Living Hull, Biotech Patch, and Pattern Recognition. This is a hefty price tag for these traits.
yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, I'm
It
about
is.
to
And
suggest another self-modulating fire. You
yeah.
think that'd be okay?
Mm,
The problem I have with self-modulating fire is that 45-second cooldown on it. It can only happen once every 45 seconds. And in your usual ISA, if you're doing an average level DPS run, say with a 50k group of players, you're looking at 2.5 minutes. You're going to get 3 uses out of that at most.
yeah.
And the
True.
amount you're going to get from it is not that much. I've also found that I've got to do more testing on this, but if you're running with point blank shots, self-modulating fire and intense focus, it really screws up the firing cycle and it just goes absolutely haywire. It's almost like it's not calculating correctly, but I'm looking more at that at the moment. I'll let you know later what's happening with that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd try and avoid that one at the moment. So it saves a bit of money
Agreed.
there.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Alright, so Starship Trait. Now I'm going to make some assumptions here. The first assumption I'm going to make is that he's going to have access or the ability to get a couple ships.
That might be a nice thing to ask, that when people do email in their
Yes.
builds, if they can include a list of available Starship traits that they've got, because there are just so many Starships and traits out there. We don't know, whether you have access to Intel ships, battleships. It just gives a bit of a heads up.
Yes. So I did put in command frequency. This is from the command tree, the command specialization tree. It is a very nice thing. It completely removes the low hull requirement for calling in your fleet support, which means you can call them in anywhere in a match at any time, which is very helpful and can give a pretty good boost to your DPS. Emergency weapon cycle, of course, gives firing haste while you have emergency power to weapons up, which would be for this build 100% of the time. And then I'm going to put in all hands on deck. And he's also got the best defense, which I kind of like for this build, because your attack patterns grant you a hull healing buff along with their normal effects. So he's going to be getting a hull healing buff every time he hits attack pattern beta 3, which is going to be once every 15 seconds. All hands on deck is going to reduce his command bridge officer abilities, or no, his captain abilities. So that's things like attack pattern alpha or miracle worker, things like that. All right, special reputation. Whew.
Just go with a standard of
This is what I'm thinking. Yes.
I
All
would
right.
throw in the auxiliary power configuration defense if he's going to
defense
tank.
and yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
offense. That's perfect. That's what I'm thinking.
defense,
All right.
offense,
Probably
So
also
yes.
energy
energy
refrequencer.
refrequencer. Yeah, definitely have that one in.
Then let's see, here we're into this advanced targeting systems and precision, or like advanced targeting
That's what I'm
systems
thinking.
and the
Precision.
enhanced armor penetration.
Well, if we're going to do advanced targeting systems, we should do precision. Because that's pretty standard. For you normally want about a 20 to 25% crit rate on a high end build. So it's hard to get that, especially if you're not a Romulan. It's hard to get that without using precision.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm sitting at a
And
lovely
then,
32% crit chance.
and then energy refrequencer. So, yeah, so I put Nukara, the tactical, Nukara auxiliary configuration defense. So this is going to give him a boost to his healing and other abilities with that. Kind of like a shield there. And then based on his Ox power. And then the defense ability, or offense ability, sorry. Same thing. And then the precision, which gives him another 4% crit chance. And tactical advantage. Sorry, targeting the tech. Can't speak today.
You are rather
English.
tongue-tied today, aren't you?
I know. English, can I speak it? Advanced targeting systems, which gives him another 16% crit severity, and energy refrequencer, which gives a damage uh gives a heal every time you deal damage. Okay, words
Take a
are
glass
hard.
of what she's had.
Yeah.
It's Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke. Sorry, it's Diet Coke.
Romulan
That's all
ale,
it is.
really. It's Romulan ale.
That was really good. I had that in Vegas. It was really, really good.
What,
It
cauliflower?
was blue. No, Romulan ale.
Yeah, cauliflower.
Yeah, it was good. It was sweet. It was blue. Blue's my favorite color, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. And then, so he's got, for the active reputation, he's got the, I would take off the medical nanite cloud. Remember, you can change these up every time you switch from space to ground. I would definitely make sure that you have your refracting Tetrion cascade when you are in space. Very, very important.
Nice little ability, that.
Yes, it is. All right. Any other thoughts or comments, guys?
Not here. The
I like
peanut
it so
gallery
far.
has nothing.
Ed?
I like it so far.
Yeah, I think we made a nice little tank. So this will allow him to have a lot of survivability, still do a bunch of DPS. Now with the tank, it is important to remember you are going to want to be pulling threat to you, which is one of the reasons you have um, such high survivability, and that is why we also went with the uh, weapon signature amplifiers, so that he would generate more threat, so that he could pull threat to him instead of getting rid of it. All right. So if there's no other comments from the peanut gallery or from Ed, then this
Thank
I
you.
think those are one and the same.
I know, right? Nah, then we can sign off. This has been Utopia Planitia. See you next time.
Good night.
Bye.